Dragon Rampant. Alright, you guys win. I've had people recommending this game to me for years, and all of your bullying and peer pressure is finally paying off. I want to be one of the cool kids, so I'm going to film a Dragon Rampant game. This was one of my major stumbling blocks. I didn't really have a good feel for what kind of forces you needed, and I knew I didn't have a good unified force, at least one. I think for a game like this, you need to have at least one army. For $75 and about a month of painting, I was able to put together a Roman Empire force. What you're looking at over here on the left with the spears is, let me check my sheet here. That's gonna be our heavy riders with the lance. They've got the countercharge. This is my leader unit. And this guy right here, see the guy he's kind of riding, kind of half-cocked there? That's because I got one figure, he's missing a leg there. So this is King Hopper, and he's wielding the magic silver cross, and he's going to be our leader. So he is with the elite riders. So we're going to do some wild charging and some counter charging with those guys. We've got one unit of light missile fire troops, just regular old archers. I think I upgraded them though, didn't I? They've got bows. Nope, no special rules, nothing fancy. These guys with the spears are light infantry, nothing special with them. And then I've got a group of dismounted men-at-arms. Notice that I can use this army for Lion Rampant, should I so choose. These guys are heavy foot, they are offensive, and I think that's it. So no wall of spears for these guys, but they can form, Skilltron. They can buddy up. All together, and then I do have a second unit of these guys in the box, so I can play with the army list if I want to a little bit. Let's take a look at the guys they're going to be fighting. We are going to be playing Scenario A, Goofy Doom on the plains of the air. What is it called? Bloodbath on the plains of doom. Gory Bloodbath on the plains of doom. These guys are going to be the attackers. They have had enough of this undead nonsense. Here they are, the Servants of Death. These are the only units that are going to be starting on the battlefield. On your left, we've got our wizard with an elite foot warband. They use normal dice in rough terrain. We have a unit of 12 bellicose foot. They've got the wild charge. They are rangers, and they are fleet feet, meaning they ignore the movement penalty in terrain. I should point out, because I haven't yet, I'm going to be playing this in half scale. So my 30-inch by about 30-inch battle mat is going to be a 5 by 5 foot table. All of my movement and firing and all that is going to be half range. So if it seems like it's a little bit smaller than usual, that's because I'm playing in 15 millimeters. It lets me pack 2 full armies into a tiny little Plano tackle box. I can show you that later. But for now, let's take a look at this guy. This is a 9-point unit because in addition to being an elite foot, he is a summoner. And I think that means he doesn't get the wizard spells. But he does get to summon most of his armies. Only 13 points on the board. They've got another, I'll be honest with you. The Roman Empire over there, that's only a 23-point army. They're coming in on the north. They're the attackers. This is a 25-point army. He's got a 2-point advantage. Not only that, as long as this summoner is bringing his troops on within 3 inches of the graveyard there, I'm going to give him a +1 on his summoning roll. How about that? So these guys have all the advantages. It's their home turf. It's okay. This is a learning game. I'm expecting a lot of comments down in the comment section going, hey, bro, you forgot the thing. You forgot the other thing and the other thing. That's cool. I'm a big boy. I can take it. Let's take a look at the units that he has to summon. Look at these absolute units. These guys in the back here are greater war beasts. I'm only using 2 models. The 2 big skeletons. This guy's rubber. He's plastic. I got him for like 30 cents. There were like a dozen of them in some kind of piratey playset. But he looks so good. And then we got a Cyclops. Probably like about a 30-year-old miniature. I think he's one of their old Ral Partha figures. So that's one unit that can be summoned. The 12 guys in front of him are going to be... Let me make sure I get this right. That is the light foot. Now, they are undead, so they don't make courage tests, but you round up any hits against them. I'll show you how that works later. They are mixed weapons, which means they do have the capability of firing. They can shoot at a range of 6 inches. The guys here in the very front, these spearmen, this is a horde. They are just a 1-point unit, and they don't shoot, they don't do nothing, and man, they got an armor of 0. Courage is 0, undead is 0. A little bit of a cheat I think. I mean, not cheat, min-maxing here, because you can't round up. They're fragile because they're undead, but you can't round up from 1, right? So the negative that you get for being undead doesn't hurt you at all. And you still get the benefit of not really having to roll for courage tests. Kind of. We'll get to that in a minute. Everybody deploys within 3 inches of their table edge. The defenders down here are basically starting off in this corner, right near the graveyard. I just want to show you where they're starting because I'd really like to get a little bit tighter, a little bit closer on our attackers, and that's these fellas up here. Now, King Hopper, I'm not going to give the Necromancer any special abilities. He's already got them, right? What with the whole Necromancing thing. But I am going to roll 3d6 for King Hopper to see what his special ability is. And with a nice round 11, checking our chart, he is commanding. He can re-roll a failed move, attack, shoot once per turn. Oh, within 6 inches. So any unit within 6 inches of this guy can re-roll a failed move, attack, or shoot order. Okay, once per turn. That's pretty good stuff. Now we got to decide who's going to take the first action here, and this is a game of activations. I know a lot of guys allow for a mulligan. If your first unit fails an activation, then you get to take one more shot. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to play the game as written. I always like to play the game as written several times before I start adding in, fancy special rules or well, I mean, except for the graveyard. Mostly, right? These are ideals that we aspire to. We don't always manage to hit that mark, but we're going to go for it. And I think the first thing we'll try to do is move that unit up. Now that is, it's going to take me a while to memorize these, that is our heavy foot. They've got a move of 5 up. And on a 7, they're going to be able to move up. Very simple, they can move 3 inches. They're just going to move 3 inches forward. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and roll for these guys as well. That is our light foot. They move on a 5 up. So they move up 3 inches. And while we're rolling, we're going to move up this foot unit as well. And on a 5 up, a bow does not, so we've failed. So I do got to move both of these units 3 inches, and then we'll kick back down to the Necromancer and see what he does. We're going to try to move this bellicose foot first. We need a 6 up for that. And we get it. And then we're going to move, do we move our summoner or do we summon? We're going to try to summon a unit, and we're going to try to summon the shooting unit within 6 inches. He's got a +1 to this check because they are being summoned within 3 inches of our graveyard. Normally it's a 6 up. This case he needs a 5 up. So all they've done now is summoned a unit up here. Wong. These are the shooty boys. I'm not going to give them the benefit of a +2 to the armor for the wall. I've given this guy just about enough benefits for now. We will count it as rough terrain. If that makes a difference later, we'll see. Like I said, it's my first game. Let's find out. Let's go see what those guys do across the way. I'm a fairly conservative gamer. I want to bring these bow up onto the hill if I can. We need a 6. We get it. Then we're going to move the easier to move elite foot. We need a 4 for that. And then we're going to try to move these spearmen. We need a 5 for that. So all 3 of these foot units are going to move up. That means we want to bring our king up. King Hopper on the elite riders. He needs a 7 up to move. And we get it. The last unit that we're going to try to move is that last unit of Lancers. And on 11, we did a clean sweep. Everybody moves up. First thing we want to do is bring a Greater War Beast on. That is going to be a 5 up to bring them on up here. And with a 7, we do. So these two boys. Wong. And there you can see they are within 6 inches of my big boy. Each of these guys has 3 wounds. We'll mark it off with a red mark. And then we can move our bellicose foot. Now the bellicose foot, let's take a look at this. They are rangers and fleets, so they ignore. We want to get them into that heavy terrain as fast as possible. So we're going to try to move them up. That is going to be on a 6 up. 6 up, they got it. And these guys are, we're going to keep them there, actually. We're done. We're going to try to bring our archers up onto the hill. We need a 6 up for that. And we don't get it, but remember, our leader allows us for 1 failed reroll. Looking for a 6 up, we get it. So the archers move up. Our wall of spear, no, our heavy foot are going to move up on a 5 up. They get it. And then our spears are going to move up on a, whatever it is, 6 up. I know 8 does it. Which means we get to now choose. We got to move the king up. He is our elite rider. Moving on a... I take it back. We're going to try to move our lances on a 5 up. We get it, and then our leader on a 7-up. So everybody moves up. Couple of measurements you need to be aware of as we get started here. The bellicose foot does not trigger a wild charge. They are more than 4 inches away from the nearest unit. These guys are more than 6 inches away from the spear, so they do not have a bow shot. So that being the case, rather than bring on the horde, we're going to bring our leader up into the battlefield proper. We don't want him getting stuck back here where a single retreat chases him off the table. That is an elite foot. They are going to move on a 5-up. We'll call that a 6, and he will be able to move a whopping 3 inches. But that does buy him a little bit of time in case things... Let's bring him over this way just a little bit. And, of course, he can buy himself some more time by summoning the horde right here. But we got a little bit of time before these elite riders... Are those the elites with the lances? The elites... No, these are the heavy riders. Get over here to start doing some damage. Then the question is, do we want to move these guys up into the rough ground? And I think we do, because they work at an advantage there. Those bellicose foot are going to move on a 6-up, and they fail, so that is the end of their turn. Quite an unfortunate end of the turn, too, because it's going to allow the Roman Imperial foot over here. Oh, they're not going to get to take an action. That would have been huge for them. That brings us back to the undead turn. They cannot re-roll because they're too far from King Hopper over here. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to bring this guy up. And on a 10, he's going to come up another 3 inches to here. And then we're going to... Everything else is static. We're going to try to bring those bellicose foot up into the rough ground. And with... we'll call that a 10 or 11. Either way, they're going to be able to do that. And that does put them in good stead because they're going to be subject to the wild charge. How far does the bellicose foot move? It's 4 inches. Okay, so our leader boy is just going to make it inside. And I think if we move on a 1-to-1, then I think we're going to be able to get our 6 boys in. So they now count as in rough terrain. Although I didn't think about this, did I? Because they are going to be subject to the wild charge rule on their next turn, that they're going to have to charge the closest unit. Be that, well, maybe. That'll be interesting. And then the question is, what do we do with these guys? Do we want to charge them up into the spearmen, or do we want to go head-to-head with the lancers over here with the king? And I think we're going to go ahead and draw the elite riders. Those elite riders have wild charge. Let's go ahead and... Well, they're not going to make it either way. Let's just move them, see what happens. And on a 5, does a war beast move? No, they don't move. That turns activation over to the king, and the king is going to ask his elite riders to move first. And on an 8, they do, so they have a movement of 5. They're going to swing around this way. And now they're lined up for a nice big charge on the boss man. Then the king himself is going to say, I'm coming at you guys. With a 7, he's going to do it. We'll move up 5 inches to there. And then the question is, who do we move next? The archers are going to stay on that hill. They're going to try to maintain that position and defend against any potential retreats. They can rain hot death down into this area if any of these guys get drawn in. They do have a range of, 6 inches? Bow have a shot. Oh, it's an 18-inch, a 9-inch range, actually. So we're going to go ahead and pre-measure. They can fire up to somewhere around here. That's pretty good. They might even be able to fire at these guys this turn if they wanted to. It's the shortest within, right? So from here, that's 6. And then there's 9. Yeah, they can fire at the guys in rough ground. Now, their armor will be up 1, but let's see what happens. We're going to go ahead and give it a shot. Do they make their shoot roll? They do not. However, they are within 6 inches. Oh, they're not within 6 inches, so that's the end of the turn. Which is too bad. For the Necromancer King's turn, and we're going to start this over. I hope I remember to edit out the error. The first thing we have to do is figure out where these guys wild charge to. As you can see, we've got a unit here that is within, from base to base, about 2.5 inches. And then our elite foot over here are about 3.5 inches, so they're going to have to charge this spear. That is an attack order. In order to pull that off, this bellicose foot has to roll a 5-up. And on an 8, they do. So we have our first melee of the game, and we're just going to drift these guys over here. They suffer no penalties for moving through rough terrain because they are rangers. And now we're going to have to roll 12d6. There we go. Who needs movement, Trey? they are going to be hitting on. Their attack value is Bellicose Foot. It's a 3-up. So let's grab out a dozen dice. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're just going to roll 12 dice. Hitting on 3s, and we'll call that a 4, and we'll call that a 5. So it's going to be, whoa, is that right? Hitting on 3s? We get a total of 2, 4, 6, 8 hits on the spearmen, who have an armor of 3. So every 3, so that's 1, 2 guys go down. Kablow, we're just going to pull them off the back end. Not only that, but these guys now have to make a courage check at -2. So my first courage check, let's see if I can get it right. They have to succeed on a 4-up. We'll just roll the 2d6. The courage of this unit is 4. We are at -2 because they have suffered 2 casualties so far, but we are also within 6 inches of Good King Hopper, which makes the total score a 5. We only needed 4. However, they do have to retreat 1.5 inches. 1.5 inches is basically these first, let's call it these first 3 unit figures. So in lieu of moving the entire unit, I'm just going to move the first 3 figures away. That gives us our 1.5-inch buffer. Remember, that's 3 inches at the 28mm scale. And then that Bellicose Foot is done. They have passed their wild charge. So then we kick back over to whoever we want. And I think, are we within 6 inches? Is this guy. We're still outside of 6 inches. We're still outside of wild charge range for all of these horses, which means we can either move these guys up, or we can we can try to summon a bit of a delaying force over here. We're worried about these knights. Let's try to summon a delaying force on a 6-up, and we missed, and that turns the initiative back over to the knights. We are within 9 inches of the bow, so we'll go ahead and try to make that shoot action first. In order to succeed on that, we're going to need a 6-up. And we fail, which means our wizard, our summoner, is going to get another chance. And he fails on the 4-up. We are really... Oh! No, we're not. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to try to wild charge. And with a 4-up, we fail. So now he can try to summon. We don't have any wild charges. The summoning fails again. So our bow are once again going to try to shoot at the Bellicose Foot. And on an 8, they succeed. Our bow have a shoot value of 5-up. There's still 12 of them, so we're going to roll all 12 dice. And I think this is as good a place as any. They are going to hit on... They've got a shoot value of 5-up. They get a total of 3 hits, 6, 5, 6. And the Bellicose Foot have an armor value of 2. Which means we do 1 damage. Then the Bellicose Foot now has to make a courage check, and a 4, -1 becomes a 3. And Bellicose Foot have a courage of 4, so that 3 means, oh, that means they're battered, doesn't it? They're going to have to retreat 1.5 inches directly away from the bowfire. So everybody moves to, well, behind this guy. Well, I guess everybody moves 1.5 inches back, right? So we'll just kind of move the whole mob. We're going to play fast and loose. Who wrote these rules anyway? Old Dan Mercy, as he recommends, just, you can play. You don't make a big thing about it, okay, guys? And then we'll put this guy over here. So there's just 11 there now. Pretty good. That's why we did it. That's why we left them up there. And they are battered, which means on their turn, we're going to put a little red gem. Oh, I guess I could show you. We're going to put a little red gem down to say, hey, these guys need you to do something before you do anything else. So the bow have fired, and now we're going to bring our elite... Is this our heavy lancers? We're going to bring our heavy riders. Our lancers are going to move up on a 5-up. And we get a 5, so they are going to be able to move the 5 inches up to here. And then we're going to bring our elite foot around over here. They move on a move on a 5 up. A 6, they get it. So we'll bring them up to 3 inches to here. And we're really trying to wipe out that bellicose foot. Try to take them piecemeal. That's why we're bringing these guys around this way, because we can kind of catch them in a pincer. In fact, we'll go ahead and charge the... If we can move these guys in. Now are they 3 inches away? Everybody backed off 3 inches, right? So that's, boy, I don't know. I don't know about that one. They were in contact. These guys moved 1.5 inches. These guys moved 1.5 inches. That puts them, and their charge distance is 4. What am I talking about? Yeah, boy, so they are going to come racing on over here. And they're going to get an attack roll. Now, there's only 10 of them. So we're only going to be able to roll 10 dice. But because they are classed as heavy foot, they are going to be attacking, and their attack value is a 5. No, the spears are a 5 up as well. Okay, so 5 up on a battered unit. We should probably check that. Where do we want to roll these? How about right here? Hitting on 5s. We get 1, 2, 3. Okay, so on this first round of combat, I forgot that the spearmen, in a couple of turns ago, the spearmen get a counterattack using their defense value. I'm not going to forget that this turn, the Servants of Death got away with 1. This time we do know that the spearmen, those light foot, were able to inflict 3 wounds on the bellicose foot, and they have an armor of 2, which means that does an additional wound. This time we will roll for the 10. Is it 10 or is it 11 for the counterattack? I'm going to roll for the 10 survivors that are making their defense roll. Bellicose foot are going to hit on... Oh, they're battered. So regardless of what they would hit on, they're going to hit on a 6. By the way, they hit on 6s anyway. So with a very nice roll, they get 3 6s. That's going to do 3 wounds to the Lightfoot, who have an armor of 2. So 1 to 1. And with a tie score, what happens? Units resolving attacks. The ending attacks. The unit that lost the most. Well, wait a minute. Both units suffered equal. The attacking unit retreats as described above. What if the unit that was attacked is battered? Does that make a difference at all? May not be activated. Only hits on a 6. Can only move as a result of a failed courage test. Yeah, no, that's it. So we did 1 more damage to them. Except, you know what? They had 11 guys. They get to roll 1 more die. And on a 6, we would remove a second one. So that's it. But then the spearmen here have to retreat another 1.5 inches. However, they do not have to make a courage test because it was a tie score in terms of casualties. So these guys are now separated by 1.5 inches. And that was a successful order on their part. We've fired, we moved, we've moved. Our king is going to attack this greater warband. And I guess I can move these guys up. It's not the end of the world if they just kind of jockey around. All right, so we're rolling to see if we get the charge off. And on a result of a 5, I don't think we do. I think those elite riders, you need a 7 up to move, so they're just going to hang out. And that's everybody on the side of the white and yellow. So we will kick things over to the Necromancer King, who is going to... Do we have anybody within 6 inches now? Anybody that within firing range? We do not, so we're not going to get any shots off with the bow and arrow. First things first, these guys have to roll to see if they are unbattered. So make a courage check, and on a 6, -2, we get a result of a 4. And that rally check is against a courage of 4. I think they're okay. Right. 6 -4 meets their courage of 4 up, so they are no longer battered, but that's all they can do this turn. They're not even going to be able to wild charge, which is too bad, because they are much better on the offensive. We're going to go ahead and bring these guys over to try to intercept the knights right there for our next trick. On a 7, the greater war beasts are very interested in moving. In fact, they have to because of the wild charge. Since they are within 5 inches of these guys, they're going to move into contact. Kablow! And that means with a strength of 6, we're going to roll 6 to hit. Their attack value is on a 3-up. And they're charging heavy riders who have an armor of 3. So hitting on 3s, 1, 2, 3, 4, means they are going to do 1 damage. And we'll drop a damage counter right there. Then the knights get to make an attack. There's still 6 guys on the board, so we will roll for 6, but their defense value is a mere 5. Hitting on 5s, they're only going to get 1 hit. That's not going to be enough to do any damage to the big boys. We're going to have to do a courage check for our heavy riders. Back up, just in case they have to retreat. Our heavy riders have a courage of 4 up, but they do get a +1 for being so close to the leader. They're at -1 for the 1 wound. Oh, wait a minute. You know, now that I think about it, they've only got 6 strength points, so that wound eliminates 1 rider. Okay. The 9 -1 +1 still beats their courage, so they are going to simply fall back an 1.5 inches, like so. And the nice thing about these figures is they're on 1-inch bases, so that makes it relatively easy. Then we have, I think then these guys can go, and we can try to bring them into contact with these guys as well. So for our wizard and his elite bodyguard, we need a 5-up, and we're going to fail. And that means it's time for our boss, our leader, is going to try to charge the war beasts. And with a 9, he's absolutely going to make contact. And, ooh, this will be interesting. What happens if the war beasts have to retreat into the wizard back here, huh? That could be fun. The heavy riders, elite riders rather, are going to be attacking on a 6-up. And the greater war beasts, now remember, these guys have a courage of 0. They have an armor of 4. Remember that. Armor of 4? What? So, what? Wait, do we have any wild charges? Yeah, we do. These guys, first we have to check the wild charge here. What am I doing? All right, so we get a wild charge. That's going to be the first attack of the turn. You come back here. Come back here. I'm not even going to edit that out. I'm just going to leave them right there. So our wild charge strikes home first. And that's only going to be 5 strength points. But at least with the wild charge, they're going to be attacking on a 4-up. Hitting on 4s. They're going to get 2 hits. Oh my goodness. Which is not... No. Okay, here's where it gets fun. Because these guys are undead, those 2 hits amount to a single wound. So I'm going to put 1 wound marker on that guy. That giant skeleton is bleeding now. The skeletons do get to attack back with all 6 of their dice. Wait a minute. Are they going to attack it back at 6 dice because it's the start of the turn? Or, see, I think, and I'll check this for my next battle, the attackers attack, and then whoever survives gets to make a counterattack. But I've got 2 guys standing there. But they did one... Oh. That's right. Okay. You always roll your maximum strength until you're at half strength. So I should have rolled 6 dice for these guys. All right, important to note. So these guys are going to roll 6, and because they are on the defense, the greater war beasts are only going to hit on 6s. They only get 1 hit, which is not enough to wound these guys, which means the greater war beasts have to take a courage check. And on a result of a 6, that becomes a 7 because you've got the leader. It becomes a 6 because they've taken the wound. The greater... Oh, these are undead. They don't take courage tests. Which means our knights are going to fade back an 1.5 inches. Even though... Wait. So if you have... They don't take courage tests, but is it whoever... Resolving attacks. After the attacks, if both units suffer equal or loss no, the unit that lost the most must retreat. Oh, okay. So our knights are going to stay right where they're at, and then our war beasts are going to fade back an 1.5 inches, which puts them in position for the king to charge into them on an 8, and now they're going to take another hit of 6. So we're using our horses to the greatest effect here. Hitting on the charge, the Elite Riders hit on a 3-up. They are going to get 4 hits against guys that take 4 hits to do 1 wound. They are now down to 2 wounds. They will counterattack with 6 dice. Hitting on 6s, they get no hits, which means they are going to have to retreat. And boy, this makes it easy, doesn't it? They're going to retreat the 1.5 inches to here. And that's going to be the end of it, at least for the Knights. But we do still have the Elite Foot down over here who can charge. They're a little too far away, but we'll see if they move, and they do. They're going to move 3 inches closer to this Bellicose Foot. In fact, we're going to move them up to here to kind of channel them where we want them to go. And that's going to be it for these guys. I think it's probably pretty good right there. And then we're going to try to move these Spearmen up, and we'll roll. And on a 10, they are going to be able to launch themselves back at these Bellicose Foot. And unlike last time, I am going to roll the full 12 dice. They've not been reduced to half strength, so they get to roll all of their dice. Fortunately, that's a mistake that I was making the same way on behalf of everyone. 12 dice for my Lightfoot. They are attacking. They're going to hit on 5s. We're going to get a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits on the Bellicose Foot. Bellicose Foot have a total armor of 2. That's going to knock down 2 more of them. The Bellicose Foot are going to roll 12 dice in return, and they're going to hit on 6s. They're only going to get 1 hit. That's not going to be enough to do any damage. The Bellicose Foot will have to test for courage, and that courage test is going to be at a total of -4 because they have lost 4 strength points. They are not undead. They do have a courage value. That means they are going to have to retreat an inch. Wait a minute, 4? 5 minus 4. Well, that is positive. It's not a negative number. Bad things happen when it's a negative number. Bellicose Foot have a movement of, well, they're going to move back half their move. Did they move 4 inches? Yeah, they move 4. So they got to drift back a total of 2 inches to here. So we'll just move them all back like so. Oh, which means these guys, with 1.5 inches. Okay, so I kind of did something a little cheap earlier. These guys retreat 2 inches. These guys retreat 3.5, or 1.5 inches, which would have put 3.5 inches between them, right? Nope. 2 inches, 2 inches, 4. I'm good. I didn't make a mistake after all. So those of you guys that watch these just to show what a smart boy you are and dump the corrections in the comments, the guys that are jerks when they do it, not you guys that are cool when you do it. You're not going to get away with this one, with one this time. We have moved these guys, the 2 foot. The bowmen are happy. We're cool, man. I don't know. Do we want to move them up? You know what we could do? We could move them up because they have an increased range. I'm going to do that. I'm bringing them in. On a 6, the archers are going to move. Yeah, boy. So we're going to bring them up the 3 inches, is it? Let's take a look. Yeah, 3 inches. So they're going to come up to about here. Now the trick is going to be getting them 9 inches away from this horde in the graveyard, because our archers have a longer range than these guys. If we can get them with like 8 inches away, they can just keep raining arrows down on these guys, and they don't have enough oomph in their missiles to catch them. That's for next turn. It is the Necromancer King's turn, and the first thing we need to do... Oh, yeah, these Bellicose Foot, they are battered. So the first thing we got to do is see if they can become unbattered. And with a result of a 7, -4, that's a 3, they fail. When you fail to rally, you lose a turn, and you retreat 2 inches. Ba-doop, ba-doop, ba-doop. And they are moving directly back from the guys that did the last damage to them. So that's not good for them, is it? Does that end your turn? It does not. The next thing we check is the wild charge for our war beasts. They move on a 6 up, which means they will be able to charge and attack the king's forces. It's going to be 6 strength points versus 6 strength points. The yellow will be for the king's forces. The white will be for the skeletons. Sorry there. And the skeletons are going to score a total of, on the attack, the greater war beasts are hitting on 3 up. So they're going to get a total of 4. Oh, I rolled 7 dice for them. On a 1, 2, 3, I keep that extra hit. Yep. Oh, well, all right. Yeah, nope, I don't. Okay, so 3 hits. I don't think it matters, to be honest with you, because the elite riders have an armor of... Oh, it does. They have an armor of 4. You know, I'm going to give it to them, because I think they can handle it. So that's 1 dead horseman. And the elite riders rolling the yellow dice, they have a defense value of 5. They do no hits. So our king is going to have to roll a heroic check. Leadership check at -1. 7. -1, well, +1, because he's the king, means they pass. But they are going to have to drop back about 1.5 inches, like so. So we've done the bellicose foot, we've done our wild charge. Now we have to figure out what we want to do with these guys. We're not going to do anything yet. We're going to try to summon another unit. Our leader says, I need a little help. I got to bring up one of my boys. And on a 6-up, he is going to do it. So anywhere within 6 inches of himself. Do we put him over here? Let's do that. Let's put him up right in here. So 12 more hordes. Now these guys are weak and they're terrible, but it does give the forces of the West something else to think about. And then we can bring these guys out as well. I don't think we want to, though. Oh, you know what we could do with them? Have these guys moved up to within range? They have. We can take a bow shot test. And on a 10, they succeed. So we are going to roll 12 dice. Put this extra one back. 3, 6, there we go. So 12 dice with the bows. Now, because that is a light foot, the shoot value is going to be a 5-up. Firing at those spearmen. And we get, wow, quite an impressive roll, actually. The skeletons are doing pretty good here. On a 5-up, we are going to score 4 hits on the spearmen. Those Lightfoot have an armor of 2. That's going to do 2 more casualties. That's going to force them to make a what do you call it? A courage check of 10 minus 5. Results in a 5. They pass the courage check. Because they have a courage of... Lightfoot has a courage of 4 up. Okay. So they've gone... Well, these guys are kind of facing the wrong way, but what do you expect out of hordelings? You know, they don't get paid to think. They're looking at the boss. Hey, we're here. What do you want us to do? He says, turn around, okay? Can you go get those spear guys? I'd like to eliminate 1 unit at least. Unfortunately, that's it for the Necromancer King. And now we got to check for our Wild Charge. The King over here with his Elite Riders has Wild Charge. I keep getting it backwards. My Lances are not Wild Charger. My King is the Wild Charger. He's going to roll an 11, and he's going to get stuck in with the big boys, the War Beasts. So it's going to be a 6-on-6. Once again, the yellow dice will be for the King, and the white dice will be for the bony fellas. The white dice only hit on 6s, and they only get 1. Greater War Beasts. Defensive 4. No, what? 4. That can't be right. Oh, that's Lightfoot for the undead. The Lightfoot for the undead have a better... I think I did something wrong there. The Greater War Beasts have a 6. The Elite Riders are hitting on 3s. So the Elite Riders score a total of 4 hits, and that eliminates this guy. The white dice are hitting on 6s, and they get nothing. They are now at half strength, so he is only going to roll 3 dice per turn. He's going to make a courage check at -3. +1 becomes a -2. This becomes a 6, becomes a 4. And Greater War Beast, oh, I'm doing it again. He doesn't check courage because he's undead. He fights to the last. But if you do 5 hits on him, then you actually do 2 casualties. Okay, but that's all right. He's down to half strength. We're making progress. That's it for the wild charge. Now our Lancers are going to ride into combat. And with a 6, they are going to move the 5 inches. They're going to get stuck in right here. We're going to chase this guy from the field. And with all 6 strength points on both sides, it's going to be a 6-on-6. This is an elite rider versus an elite foot. Both have a strength points of 6. The yellow dice will be for the guys on the horses. The guys on the horses are hitting on 3s. The other guys are hitting on 4s. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 for the knights, and 1, 2, 3 for the guys on foot. The elite foot have an armor of 4, so that's 1 casualty. The knights have an armor of 4, so there's none here. The wizard has to make a courage check. With a 6 first check, he's got to beat a 3 up. He is at neutral, so they do succeed, but he's going to have to fade back because they're elite foot. He's going to have to fade back that 1.5 inches. Like so. All right. These knights have gone. These knights have gone. And the archers now can take a shot here at the horde. They get a result of a 6. In order to shoot, archers need a 6. So they're going to roll 12 dice, hitting on 5s. It's a 9-inch range, but here's your 6 inches just to prove it. Hitting on 5s, they're going to do 1, 2. Wait, their shoot is a 5 up? Yeah, that's right. Okay, 1, 2. They do 2 hits. The horde has an armor of 1. So that's going to be 2 hits. They have to make a courage check at -2. And a result of a 4 becomes a 2. Are they within 6 inches of the boss man? Yeah, we'll give it to them. The 4 becomes a 2, becomes a 3. A horde has a courage. Oh, they're undead, so they do not check courage. That's right. These skeletons, that's the benefit of being undead, isn't it? They're just going to stand there and take it. All right, well, we'll bring the... So these guys are battered. We're going to bring our... Over here on this flank, we're going to bring the elite foot in first. And with a result of a 10, they are going to be able to charge these bellicose foot. They're going to roll... The bellicose foot are still in the fight. They're going to roll 12 dice. Let's roll for the knights first. Those are elite foot. Wait, are they elite foot or the heavy foot? No, they're just heavy foot. So they're just going to be hitting on 5s. They're just going to do 1 hit. And that's not enough to overcome the bellicose armor of 2. Then the bellicose foot. Now they will roll 6 dice, but they're only going to hit on 6s because they are battered. And they get a total of 3 hits, which means they won. Are you kidding me? Bellicose foot hitting on the elite foot, have an armor of 3. They take 1 casualty. And they have to make a morale check. We'll call that a 9. And that's going to be enough to stay in the fight, but they will have to fall back 1.5 inches. And that really complicates things for the spearmen. Now, the spearmen are 4 inches away. If they can make a move check, they will be able to move into contact with these guys. And 11 will do it. Will they? Are they 4 inches away? Let's think about it. It looks like they're more than that. They're going to have to charge these guys over here. They can move 4 inches, but we're just going to have to swing them into these guys. They do still roll their 12 dice, and on the attack, those Lightfoot are going to be hitting on 5s. They're going to get a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 hits. So 4 of these guys crumble to dust. And then the other... But then they do get a counterattack, and Hordes counterattack with a defense value of 6. So the Hordes are going to do a total of 1, 2, 3 hits. And against Lightfoot, that's going to do 1 wound. The result here is a tie, which means the attacker has to back off. And that is going to put both of these units at half strength. So in subsequent rounds of combat, these two 6-man units, well, let's go back 2 inches. That's a little bit further, isn't it? These guys are both only going to roll 6 dice from now on. Since it was 1-to-1 in the casualty department, we are going to call it just a retreat for the attacker. And that is the end of the turn. Another clean sweep for the Forces of Good. Forces of Darkness are going to go, and we'll start with... Oh, who is supposed to retreat here? These guys took more casualties, so he was supposed to retreat, which means he will now have to check his... Oh, first we got to check the rally over here. And on a 9, -5, that is a 4. The Bellicose Foot have a courage of 4, so they are no longer battered. But that's all they can do. The Greater War Beast is going to charge the nearest enemy. And with the result of a 6, he does. Greater War Beasts do move on a 6-up. So he's going to roll 3 dice against these knights. He is on the attack. And he does hit on a 3-up. So he does 3 wounds to a unit that takes 4 wounds to take a casualty. Oh boy, he's in trouble, isn't he? Meanwhile, they've got all 6 of their dice. They defend on a 5-up. And they do 4 hits, which is going to do another wound to this guy, which will force him to move back at least 1.5 inches because he took more damage. It's also, he doesn't have to take a wound check, or a courage check, though, does he? Because, why would he take a courage check? He's an undead monstrosity. He's a soulless creature that's willing to just keep, swinging that big scimitar. Who next? Let's bring out... Who next, indeed? We've got a shot here with our bows. Let's see if we can shoot. Are we within 6 inches? No, we're not. So they need that Lightfoot with the weapons shoots on a 5-up. Their turn is over. Well, that's unfortunate. Our heroes now have to check for Wild Charge here. They get it, so they are going to pursue this Greater War Beast. Boom. And they're going to roll 6 dice against his 3 dice. And because he is now on the defense, the Greater War Beast is going to hit on 6s, and they're going to hit on 3s. And they do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is enough to destroy him. But not before he manages to do a total of 2 hits, which is not enough to eliminate any. Remember, he needs to do at least 4. And that is the first of the points. Now, we should talk a little bit here about victory conditions. When we only have 4 units on the table, we're going to start rolling a d6 every time we switch activations. As you can see, we've still got 5, 6, 7, 8. So 9, so we've got a long ways to go. We do have our elite riders ready to ride down the Necromancer King over here. And with a 9, they are going to get stuck in. Because they charged, they are on the attack. And that would be an attack roll. They need a 5-up to pull that off. They're going to roll 6 dice. They're going to be hitting on 3s. And they get a total of 2 hits, which is not enough. The elite foot are caught standing around. They're going to hit on 4s. They're going to get a total of 1, 2 hits, which is not enough to cause any wounds. So our riders have to back off. And we've got a bit of a stalemate down here, don't we? That's all right, because we've got a lot of other things we can do. We do have archers that can fire into these hordelings. Both riders have gone. We got to see if we can get a shoot action off. With a 5, we do not, and it becomes the undead turn. And we'll move our horde up. Let's see if we can eliminate that group first. On a 6-up, on the attack, that horde... Oh, their attack is at a 7. It's not going to happen. So we're going to shoot at him again. And a 10 is going to hit. 12 arrows every single hit knocks over a guy, and our shooters are going to hit on a 5. Oh, I got one more in there. So they got 1, 2, 3. 3 more hits. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, the good news for the undead is that normally that unit would just melt away. They're still a pain in the neck. So we got to try to bring these guys up to wipe them out. Yeah, that's right. We just got to bring these guys up. So they're going to charge in. And our Lightfoot is going to attack with... now they're at half strength, so they're only going to control 6 dice. As Lightfoot, their attack value is a 5. And they're only going to do 1 wound. So they take away another guy, and because they didn't wipe them out, we could have used a couple more 5s there, guys. They're going to have to fade back a little bit. And the last group we've got is our Heavyfoot. They attack. They charge into the Bellicose Foot. Now, wait a minute. Why are these guys retreating? The guys that took the most wounds have to retreat. So these guys fade back 1.5 inches. That's what's supposed to happen here, which is kind of not good for them because it opens them up to gunfire from these guys. Or bonefire, I guess you could call it. Moving back to the offensive back here, we are going to roll 6 dice for our Heavy Foot on the offense. And they are going to be hitting on 5s. So they get a total of 2 hits against the Bellicose Foot. That's enough to knock down a guy. The Bellicose Foot, for their part, are still at more than half strength for the purposes of this combat. I really got to understand this. It's 5 on 7, so do we roll all 12, or do they only get 6 because they just fell to half strength? Let me know so I can get it right in the future, okay, guys? I'm going to roll 12 this time. I don't even think I'm being consistent in this video. Could be. Not going to stress out about it. Bellicose Foot on the defense only are going to hit with 6s, but they do manage to pull off a couple of hits. Which, is that going to be enough on that Heavy Foot? You got to hit him 3 times. I got an armor of 3. So the Bellicose Foot will need to make that courage check. And with a result of 5, minus a whole bunch, they are now at half strength. 5 minus 6 gives them a negative number. When you have a negative number on your result, I think you're just... Is that it, man? For each lost, -1 if you... Oh, also they're at -1 because they have lost half of their unit. So that's a total of -2, which means they must retreat a half move. Wait. As a negative number, they rout. So remove them immediately. That is the second unit for the undead to be removed from the game entirely. But it is the undead's turn. And, we did not get a very good matchup here, did we? These heavy knights are brutal. Do we have any wild charges? I don't think we do. Our only wild chargers are all dead. We don't have anybody to rally, so it's anybody can go. Let's start with these guys. Take a shot. We need a 7. They get it. So they're going to shoot at these guys. That's going to be all 12 dice. Hitting on 5s. The undead Lightfoot hitting on 5. Still got a range of 6, but that's fine. That's fine. It's 5s. We're going to get a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits against these spearmen. And these spearmen are Lightfoot. They have an armor of 2. That's going to do 2 more casualties to them. And they're going to have to make a courage check at minus a bunch. A result of a 6 minus 8 is a -3. Well, it's actually a -2. Not that it makes any difference because they are within 6 inches of King Hopper. But they have now failed the courage check on the negative, so they are eliminated from the game. Then, what do we do? We've got 2 choices left. Let's bring our... This elite foot is crazy elite. They attack on a 3. Yeah, we're going to try to bring them up to attack these guys. On a 7, you only need a 5 up to attack. They are going to push these guys back. I think this battle is over, to be honest with you. But we'll ride it through to the bitter end. What do you say? That's going to be a total of 6 on 6. With the forces of the undead rolling the white dice. The guys on the horses rolling the yellow. The guys on foot are going to be hitting on 3-ups, and they're going to get a total of 3 hits against a unit that has an armor of 4. The guys on horseback are going to get a total of, since they're on the defense, they hit on 5s, they're going to get a total of 3 hits against a unit that has an armor of 4. So nothing happens except the attackers drift back. And then we have a unit of 2 spearmen over here who are going to move, and I guess over here, I don't, do they have to fight these guys? Because either way, they rolled a 3, and we don't have to worry about it because they failed their attack check. Our archers are, that's pretty close. We're not going to do the full pre-measure. They're going to shoot at these guys, and they're going to fail. Man, what do we do here? The forces of good have eliminated a total of 9. Well, you know, first thing we got to do is the bellicose foot. They're going to do their wild charge. And a 7 will do it. They're going to charge into these 2 little hordlings. And we're going to roll 6 dice. 2, 4. 1 for each strength point. And every single 3-up will kill a guy. And then these guys are going to roll 3 dice. Oh no, it's going to be 6 dice because they're at half strength. And they're going to get a total of 1 hit. And that's going to be it for them. So that unit is now eliminated. The 1, so how many go? We got 2, 4. We've got 6 more units left to go. I'm going to call it a victory in favor of the forces of good. They've got a total, they've got 20 points left on the board up against the undead who only have 9. They've got 14 points. So maybe I don't know, man. Maybe see, the deal here is, oh boy. Okay, let's just gut it out, guys. I think we know what's going to happen here. We got to gut it out. These guys, King Hopper is going to have to charge the wall. And with the 10 he does, we'll put him in contact. Now remember what we said at the start of the game. That is rough ground. It increases the armor of the guys inside the graveyard from 2 to 3. All right? But they're undead. So it might not do them a whole lot of good. When elite riders, no, and heavy, wait, who is that? That's elite riders with a wild charge. When they attack, they hit on 3-up. So they get 3 hits, and they're going to do 1 casualty to these guys, who will counterattack with 12 dice. But as Lightfoot, they're only going to hit on 4s? What? Okay. Hitting on 4s. This could be embarrassing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hits. Now those 2 aren't going to do them any good, but it's 1 hit to 1 hit. So the elite riders got pushed back by Lightfoot. Did I get those stats right? Are you telling me Lightfoot defended a 4-up? Remember when I told you Lightfoot attack at 5, defend at 4. Remember when I told you I need to develop a better feeling for who does what? Yeah, putting Lightfoot in a defensive position is absolutely the way to go. With a 1-to-1 ratio, nobody needs to take the 1 casualty to 1 casualty. Nobody needs to take a check, but we do need to bring these guys back. All right, fine. We're going to move our archers over to here. If we can, on a 9, they're going to be able to move 3 inches. We need to line up a better shot. So we'll bring them over here. And, oh man, this is where that wild charge is going to be embarrassing, isn't it? Because, because they're going to keep throwing themselves at this when really you should just back away. Just back off, man. Let the archers deal with it. Likewise, I guess what that means is we're going to move our elite foot. And this might take a little while, but these heavy foot over here are going to ignore this, and they're going to sweep around. We're going to bring them around this side to help out with these guys, because this is a weird little battle as well. Might take a while, but what the heck? They're not doing anything else there, guys. At 3 inches move, or do we just go ahead and just throw bodies at it? Let's just throw bodies at it. All right, we're gonna move in. They're gonna attack. They've got an attack value of they attack on 4 up, and once again these guys will defend on 3s. But we do have a total of 6 strength points in the form of our elite foot, and that's a pretty good roll right there. And our defenders are rolling 6 dice. Our heavy foot are going to be hitting on 5s. They're going to get a total of 4 hits, which will eliminate 2 of these guys. They've eliminated, remember the armor is 3, but because they're undead, if you have a partial, it counts as a full casualty. So they did 2. The guys inside, oh, I forgot, they actually roll 12 dice. And they hit on, as light foot, they are going to be hitting on 4 ups. So they get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits against the elite foot. And those heavy foot, the heavy foot have an armor of 3, so they do 1 casualty. And we finally have a little bit of a victory there. The guys, the light foot, have to make a check. And it's going to be 5 minus what? It's going to be 5 minus 3 altogether. There's is that right? There's 4. There's 9 in there, so it's at minus 3. So that 5, are they within 6 inches of their wizard? They are not. They don't get a bonus there. So 5 minus 3 is a 2. That means they are going to have to fall back, boom, to here. And they are battered. So all in all, that's a really unfortunate result for them, because it means that our elite foot, despite doing 1 damage to them, they may be able to get into position next turn. But we do have to do this wonky little fight over here between the, well, do we? On a 4, we do not. The Lancers are a little confused by the fact that elite foot are able to withstand their charge. And they're like, boss, can we get a mulligan? And the boss man says, where's Hopper? Oh, I eliminated Hopper? That's not right. Hopper, get back here. We're going to put Hopper right there by the other guy with the cross. And then we're going to measure 6 inches. Yeah, it's pretty close. We're going to give it to them. They can reroll. On a 6 on the attack for heavy riders, they are going to be able to attack. They're going to hit on 4s. So they come up. And we roll hitting on 4s. They do a total of 1, 2, 3 hits against elite foot, which is not enough. The elite foot is going to counterattack. And on defense, they're going to roll 4 dice. Or they're going to roll hitting on 4s. They do a total of 4 hits, which eliminates another heavy rider. And that forces the heavy riders to take a morale check at minus 2. That is a 5. Plus 1 for the king. That is a 6. And they succeed, but because they took more wounds, they have to fade back that 1.5 inches. Okay. And that is the end of the turn now. So we'll bring first we got to check to see if the guys in the graveyard are no longer battered. And on a result of a 7, minus 3, it becomes a 4. The 4, what is the Lightfoot? Their leadership is, oh! Hey, dum-dum, they're undead. These guys don't check. They don't take courage checks. They just stand there and wither away and die. You have to stand there and beat them down. Okay. Well, and that means that since they don't take a courage check, you know what? They don't take a courage check, but they faded back because they took more casualties. That's what it was. But they are not battered. So they can, because they are away, they can pass a shooting check. They fail, they don't get nothing, which means we're going to bring our elite foot inside the perimeter. Ba-chow! Attack, charge, 6 dice, hitting on heavy foot, hits on 5s. They get a total of 3 hits, and That's going to do 1 casualty to these guys, who are now going to roll 12 dice, hitting on Lightfoot, hitting on 4s, and they're going to get a total of, they're going to get a total of a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, wow. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 hits on the elite, on the heavy foot is going to eliminate 3 of these guys, and they're going to have to pass a leadership check, and they don't, which means they are, this last guy says, I've had enough. I ain't fighting no skeletons, man. This is nuts. Except I cheated because the heavy riders should have gone in first, shouldn't they? They do have the wild charge. We'll bring them in now. They're going to get stuck in, and this is our king. Like so. So we've got 6 dice for the heavy riders. We're doing this a little bit backwards because we're still kind of learning. 6 dice. 6, 6, 4. Heavy riders on the attack. Elite riders, rather, are going to be hitting on 3s. They are going to do a total of 5 hits. And that's going to do 2 more casualties. And then the defenders are going to get to roll 4 dice, and they're going to be hitting on 4s. And I forgot what happens with rough ground. Hitting on 4s, they're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 hits, which is enough to eliminate another elite rider. 1 to 2 means our skeletal defenders are going to have to fade back out of the graveyard. And there's our horses. There's our king inside the graveyard. We are still down to 5 units, so we are not ready to check for the end of the game yet. These guys are going to move over to here if they can, if they roll high enough. 7 for archers will allow them to move 3 inches. 1, 2, 3. And we'll bring them up. And then we have our last unit, which isn't doing us a whole lot of good over here. On a 5, that may be the best thing for them. The heavy riders attack on a 5 up. Oh, baby. This is not a good exchange for them. They hit on 5s. White dice hit on 4s. We get 3 hits, and we get 5 hits. That eliminates another Lancer. And they have to take a morale check of 9. Minus 3 is a 6. They will stay in the fight, but they drop back. They really wanted that for reasons that we'll see in a minute here. Our leader is going to charge, and he will succeed. See if we can push these guys back a little bit. So it'll be another fight, except this time the heavy foot, the elite foot rather, are hitting on 3s. White dice hitting on 3s are going to get a total of 4 hits. The yellow dice defending on 5s are going to get a total of 3 hits. So that's going to eliminate another rider. They have to make a morale check at minus 4. That's going to be a total of 1. Well, it's going to be 0, which means they are eliminated from the game. Now, we are at 4. 4 units left on the board. This is why we play the game, guys. 4 units left on the board. We got to roll a d6, and on a 5 or 6, the game is over. We play one more turn. The elite riders have to wild charge. They get it, and they are going to be attacking these undead. They still have, they're down to 3 guys, so they only roll 3 dice. All 3 are hits. The undead are outside of the graveyard, so we remove 2 of them, but they are also at half strength, so they roll 6 dice and hit on, because they're Lightfoot, they're going to hit on 4 ups. They're going to do 4 damage, and that's going to eliminate this guy, which means our king has to pass a leadership check on a 7, minus 3. It's 4 for the casualties, and it's plus 1 for the presence of the king. This becomes a total of 4. Elite riders have a courage of 3+. So all they do, now who lost more? These guys lost more, so they're going to fade back another 1.5 inches. And I think I'm doing rough ground wrong. I don't know if the dice are at minus 1 or if you remove 1 die. I'll check that and get it right for the next battle. But we do have one more option left. these bowmen are going to try to shoot at these foot. A result of a 7 allows them to take the shot. Doesn't it? Bows shoot on a 6 up. They're going to roll 12 dice. They're going to hit on 5 ups. 5s and 6s. We're looking for at least 4 of them. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, so that does eliminate 1 figure. So he's gone. And this elite foot unit has to pass a leadership check at +1, -2. So a total of -1. And on an 8, they succeed. The leader now really wants to get stuck in. And on a 5, he's not going to do it. Oh, no, at the end of the turn, we roll, and on a 5 or 6, the game is over. On a 5, the game is over. So we tally up the number of points that each side has lost. So it turns out the gory bloodbath on the Plains of Doom is an accurate description because it is a bloodbath, not a bone bath. The undead lost a total of 11 points. They still have 14 points on the board. They've got a 9-point wizard and a 5-point, did I get that right? Let me just double check. They've got a 5-point light foot. Could have used one more turn to wipe these guys out. So that means that the Bromans were only able to kill 11 points worth of guys. For their part, the Bromans have a total of 6 for the elite riders, still on the board, and 4 for the bow. So the undead killed 13. 13 to 11 means the Necromancer King wins this battle. He got pushed back dramatically, but, all right, so what have we learned today? We've learned that when you're playing the gory bloodbath on the plains, you want to target the high-profile units first. Focus on seizing ground with your light foot and your elite foot, and taking ground with, man, I don't even know who. We've learned that elite riders versus elite foot is a bad matchup for the riders. That's one thing. Because elite foot, man, that defense value of 4 is absolutely brutal against elite riders. And we've also learned that war beasts are intimidating, but they are very vulnerable to being attacked. We'll have to remember that moving forward. We also need to figure out we need to look really close at the simultaneous attacks. Do the attackers attack first, remove casualties, and then the defenders counterattack? I'll look at that. Before we come back for our next battle, we'll be ready. We'll also answer what are the effects of terrain, because again, this is a typical Osprey product, which has rules kind of scattered all over and not in the places where you would expect while you're trying to reference it at the table. I don't care. It was still a lot of fun. Kind of a long one, but a good one. See ya. 2 days. I'm praying for you.